Hello, my friends, and welcome to day 4 of the NA Contenders trials. My name is Bull Skunk alongside Mana Class, and we are here with the battle for second place. Well, we've got Triumph versus Uprising Academy. Triumph looking to prove, see if they can get that second slot, steal it away from Kratos, whom they beat in a comeback thriller last night.
Yeah, honestly, this could be a very good game that we're looking at. Triumph looking to be a bit more favored against Uprising Academy, but you never know what to expect from a team like Uprising Academy. We know it from their main team. We know it from their academy team. There's no counting them out in any situation. And with a roster like this, you got to wonder if that's really the way you want to go, because Uprising Academy coming in with quite a few players that aren't in the North American region. Some of them might actually still be, for instance, in Europe, in Korea, in Canada. Like, they're actually spread far apart, and that might pose some issues with coaching. And then you look at Triumph, they got the similar story going on, Blue Skunk.
Yeah, very similar story indeed. A couple players playing out of Korea. We're going to have Niche and Off in the tank role. Hydron and N2S putting the hurt down. And Vigilante and Lep as our supports here today. I on the other side, though, I really love how international and mixed the Uprising Academy roster is, just for the sole fact that this is what this game is all about. I mean, bringing people together from all over the world to fight for one banner, to fight as one team.
Sure.
It's a pretty cool thing to see.
Hyping power face-off today. That's kind of what we're looking at, right? As you can see, I was already ahead. Ahead of everything. I already set myself up in Oasis, waiting for that first map to start. But the teams, we took a little bit longer to get everything going. Sorry that we're late. We know it's all fine. And of course, starting on Oasis means that we have the potential for something that isn't quite ready for the double barrier meta, because as Oasis is a control map, and as most control maps are, there's more potential for that chaos, more potential for sticking slightly out of that box, stepping slightly out of that meta when it's different DPS picks, different tank picks, might be seeing some Asian influences with some double bubble going on. We've seen that going on a lot in China and Korea. And I would not be against or not at all be surprised if these teams pull that out, because it is, of course, very much possible that they have that in their wheelhouse.
Oh, you bet. Especially on City Center and Gardens. Double bubble is very viable. Going into University, a little bit more up close and personal, a little bit of high ground to work with, but not nearly as much as on the other two. After Oasis, this is a fixed map set, so there's no loser pick. We're going to head to Volskaya for map 2. Hollywood will be our hybrid map for the evening. And then Route 66, our escort. If needed, we'll go to Ilios for the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and if they manage to somehow draw too many maps, then we even have a map 6 lined up, which would be Busan, but it's very unlikely we'll get there. That's just how these series plan out, not because we think it's going to be a stomp, but just because it's hard to draw that many times. Like, you really have to try.
It wouldn't hurt my feelings to see a draw on Escort, just for the simple fact that it's so rare. It's so rare. I would love to bear witness to something of that caliber, but, not something I think I've ever seen in an organized tournament setting.
No, we would be the first. That would be a very exciting night, though, Bull Skunk, if we get there. The draw on Escort. But it seems that the teams are going to be about ready to run into the map very soon. And it's all going to be very important, of course, about which point you start on. What sets the pace? If you're going to be starting on City Center, you have a lot of potential for that open, chaotic fight. Whereas if you start a University, like you said before, it's very enclosed. Maybe you'll see a team running one of those Reinhardt Lucio compositions that just rushes in and makes sure that you cannot even set up with a double barrier if the other team plays it. And all of those factors come back into play when you have to think about what map you're getting first and what team gets the momentum. Because sometimes you can be the favorite. We saw earlier on in the European region, where the favorite of Sheer Cold almost lost the game to Vasta, who were not at all expected to be as good as that by most of the people. So, yeah, I'm ready for more upsets. I'm ready for more chaos. We've seen it happen in this trial season, NA as well. Nothing is as it seems, and nothing can be guaranteed for anybody.
Nope. It seems on any given day, one team could have the other's number, get the better, find the secret, download it, and take the W. And that's exactly what Triumph is hoping to do today, going up against Uprising. Again, they're in third place, just narrowly behind Kratos, looking for that second place slot. Of course, only the top 2 teams from each group will advance into Contenders proper. So
Yeah.
Triumph coming in off a big win, lots of wind in their backs, hoping they can find that second slot.
Yeah, and of course, there's still something to fight for Boston as well. Maybe they don't have the record to make it into contenders, but you still would rather be in a spot where you're in that third or fourth place spot. Because even though they're secure trials, because they're, of course, an academy team or an Overwatch League team, you still don't want to be seen as a team that only stayed in trials because of that. The bottom 2 teams will go to open division. Number 3 and 4 will stay in trials, and that's where Uprising wants to get. So this game still, even though they may not be able to get up to contenders, has a lot of merit for them and a lot of stakes still.
Absolutely, which means they're going to have the hunger. They're not going to come in here flat-footed. Uprising Academy, I'm expecting to come out of the gates swinging with full force. I mean, they got something to prove in themselves. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. They want that fourth place slot. They want to make sure that they can prove to the world that they belong here amongst these teams.
Of course, and they've made some moves. Got some new players, got a new coach. The whole staff of the Uprising Academy is being bolstered a bit more, and that does show in results. Of course, at least it should. Maybe not just yet. Now it's still very fresh, very early. But there is a chance that in this short amount of time, they've been able to do enough work to make this a very competitive series. And I honestly really, really would like to see that. Uprising Academy has been, I wouldn't say they've been a laughing stock. Like, definitely not. I mean, still, you're an academy team. You're part of the Boston Uprising organization. That's a really big deal. But they haven't really been able to pull out as many results. They've consistently been in trials a lot of the time. Their results just haven't really spoken for that name, that brand, that cachet that it should have. And I hope with this new bolstering of the coaching staff and everything that they have behind it, some new players, they will really be able to make those results happen.
With this roster, I mean, it's definitely have some of those complications to overcome, not just in the coaching factor, but even just pings alone. Playing from all across the world, you gotta take that into account.
You do, but it's a choice they consciously make. So if you make the choice to have a lot of European players, you're gonna either maybe have visa issues, you're gonna be playing with ping. And that's just something you've accepted. If you take a roster up like that, you're going to be happy enough to work with the ping around it. So at some point, I can't really use it as an excuse anymore. And neither is Triumph. They picked up some Korean players. They have the same similar situation going on. So talking about Triumph, because we talked a lot about Boston Uprising, which, of course, it's very fun to do that. But Triumph, on the other hand, they have been doing very well as an organization, not just in Overwatch. They're just an esports organization that is up and coming and really throwing out the content, throwing out the wins in other games as well. So it was only natural that their Overwatch team is just as successful. They have a good support staff, good organization to work with, and one that can apparently rival with Overwatch League level organizations as the Boston Uprising.
And it's exactly what they're looking to prove here. As we head into University is going to be our opening round to start things off here in Trials Day 4.
Oh, University.
This is going to be the up-close personal.
Yeah. I don't know how long it's been for you when you've been in an educational system, but it's been a hot minute since I walked into the building. So it's fun to see what education these players will go with. What have they educated themselves on these past weeks? So far, it seems like their education has led to 1 point at 1 point alone, and it's double barrier all the way.
Triumph. Can they get that second seed? Can they fight into contenders and make a big statement here for the organization? We're about to find out as the teams are going to clash in the small room on the right-hand side. We're looking at a standard double shield composition from both sides. No real surprises here. No brawl, despite being a relatively close quarters map. Triumph gonna opt out of the fight in the small hallway, loop around to main with a nice dynamite. A lot of damage down onto Uprising Academy. And it makes for easy pickings for Triumph to move in and clean up, capture first control.
Yeah, as soon as that Orisa goes down, you know that it's kind of over. Especially if you're not immediately trading back. Sometimes you see those back and forth picks happen, But so far, Triumph is trying to set that tone, make sure that they are not going to be trifled with. Uprising Academy has to take them seriously, and Wayfast will feel that hard. Wayfast, though, did do a lot of damage, so has already got the Bob, and they might be able to use that to their advantage, as that is the only ult online at the moment.
Although on the other side, Triumph will have Rally and a Bob of their own if they can stall this fight out for just a little bit. That extra armor could be the big difference maker here, especially early in a round like this. Valve coming out from the offense, response from the other side. Both Butlers out on the field, but Hydron goes down. False managed to get a kill as well. Tack got in a weird position, was trying to flank around and just gets picked out. And now Triumph are going to push forward, but they're running into a Gravity Flux. False trying to bring this thing back, investing a late ultimate, but the Immortality field there, keeping Triumph alive and standing for the meantime.
All right, Triumph is under pressure, though. Both teams working with a bit of respawns at the moment. It's going to be Triumph that will still be able to hold on, but they had to back off. That means a positional advantage for Boston could be huge, but not if Huck goes down.
And 2S is going to go and pull out this blade and give Triumph the edge needed from that Katana.
Yeah, beautiful Genji blade just to secure that fight, because it was getting a bit hairy with Nick going down. We'll now be able to see what N2S can do versus Tap. Well, Vigilante helped them out from the back. Probably didn't see that Baptiste coming. So far, Triumph has looked pretty much in control. Like, not much that's been able to happen for the side of Boston Uprising, and it's been often on the back of Krandop going down early. The Dutchman is not able to put out the sustain that Orisa is so known for.
But big combo available here. This is the last opportunity for Uprising. We got the rally. We've got the blade out. Supercharger to bolster it, and all of those combined to, well, Uprising dying. No value from those 3 ultimates. Now it's up to Wayfast and False. See if they can, no, False goes down. Wayfast is going to fall as well. That's a clean 100-0 for Triumph to start things off.
Yeah, and I don't think Krandop even got their ultimate off. Like, they just walked in and died 3 or 4 times, and that was kind of the round. I mean, you can win fights without your Orisa, but if your Orisa basically doesn't get to fight at all, that is worrying. So we're going to look into the next rounds to see if Boston Uprising can change that, or if Triumph can just keep hammering down on that Orisa to just break their spirits already in map 1 and just walk away with a clean 3-0.
And it does look like Uprising Academy will stick with the double shield. They do still have some time if they want to swap that up. But so far, they're sticking with the meta composition. But on the other side, we are seeing some of that dive. Not the double bubble, but we're going to get the animal dive from the Hammond and the Winston.
Yeah, the flying furries, as we sometimes say, right?
I like that.
It's gonna be I really like this composition. The only thing they have to be really wary of is how free Vigilante's gonna be. Lep's gonna have to help them out on their Brigitte a lot, and that could take away the focus of Hydron and N2S, and even Nichen off if they have to be healed up.
Yeah, Vigilante could find themselves in a vulnerable spot. We'll see if Uprising can take advantage. Wayfast taking advantage of Nick's aggression early on. You know, much better start for them here in round 2. Hydron was trying to go into the back line and see if they could even the odds, but no such luck. Chased right on back out, and Uprising get first control.
Yeah, and Wavefest and Huck are in a very similar position together with Aztec, because they have a 3-man backline, whereas Vigilante and Lep are the only backline on the other team. So that's a really different distribution of resources. And the dive went in early and just got caught out. They weren't able to do the whole kite dive and walk around you cycle cooldowns thing that they used to do.
No, Triumph getting really aggressive with it once again. They're not looking for the cleave, they're not looking for the ults, they're looking for the kills, but so far have found none. Now, Wrecking Ball decided to go up, push the brig off the high ground, slams down, lands right on Huck's dome, flatten him like a pancake on this point. And then the DPS go in and clean up the rest.
Yeah, they're finally able to win that fight. It looked very, very problematic. Like, so far, it was actually looking like this dive of Nick and Off was just going too aggressive, too early. Couldn't quite finish those kills, and then usually that sustain will actually be able to win. And right now, when we look at these ultimate bank, it's not looking great for Uprising. They just have nothing ready, and almost everything is ready here for the side of Triumph.
Just getting synced up back in here. Classy, you'll have to take over from me for just a moment.
Let's N2S with the blade. There's not much fighting going on. It's just slicing and dicing like a sashimi restaurant. Beautifully done by N2S. They forced out the immortality field, and the order was just completely there. Nothing to be done for Uprising Academy about that one. And Aztec, just the reactor with that immortality field was too aggressive. You don't want to have to fight them in a school like that and lose. They don't need to be like that. They will just go there. No, they might go to the main open area, dive coming, and it's just going to be the wrecking ball behind them. I don't even know if they spotted the mine is out way fast. It's going to be under a lot of pressure here. Off already gets the first kill, but Tap with the blade. Can they find value? They got one. They got Vigilante, but they get nothing else. They just get shut down. The primal rate Tracer combo is just too much. Nothing to be done from Uprising Academy, and they just seem to be going down without even a fight. Now they switch again. Tap goes over to the Torbjorn, which is an understandable swap. If you want to deny flanks, if you want to gather info on where the Wrecking Ball is behind you, a Torbjorn turret can do a lot there. Way fast on the McCree, of course, for the flashbang, extra stun, and they spot it out off this time around. Bullskunk, this fight is everything on this map. Uprising Academy needs to win this if they want to stay alive.
Well, they're going to pop that rally to initiate. Bolster up that team. See if they can take out Off, and they're going to do just that. Off overextend, and the rest of the team not really there. Now the double shield going to move on a point. See if they can plant their flag. Gravitic Flux coming out from False. We'll find one nice follow-up shot from Way Fast. Oh, and a beautiful shot onto Vigilante from the McCree as well. And Uprising Academy do rise to the occasion and win this fight in overtime.
Yeah, finally they're able to get on top of it, and even more impressively, they've actually held on to some ultimates. They haven't had to use everything, but the worry that they have here is that there's so much more online on the other side, and we saw how big that Mind Primal Rage combo was last time, and this time even N2S has that blade ready. That will probably be the nail in the coffin, proverbially speaking, but it will probably be more like a sword slashing through you.
And not only that, but Vigilante there with the nano boost to bolster it up. Hydron coming up on an early pulse bomb. Looks like Off.
Take your time.
Rotate around.
You know, you want to be in a position to dive.
Yep, they're just staging, looking for the proper targets. Now, Hydron with the pulse bomb. Here comes the blade. Primal Rage. Everything in the kitchen sink coming in from Triumph. Beautiful sleep dart. Silences the Cowboy. Not able to get that ultimate out. And Triumph will push in, take over this point, avoid the lava floor, and take Oasis 2-0.
Yeah, Tap could not get that ultimate online. The short and stocky Swede was not enough to deter the dive and the flanking coming in. It was a nice try, but it just came in a little late. They were already down so much in the whole scheme of things, you know, the whole macro, going through the ultimate cycles, etc. And when we look at a map like Oasis, it's a control map. You don't really have time. And that's usually the trap, only the trap, really the situation the teams find themselves in. So not at all surprising that Boston Uprising Academy didn't quite get that win there. But they did show that they're willing to adapt. And if they get more time on other maps, that adaptation could lead to more fight wins and eventually map wins as well.
Well, they're going to have to slow down the pace a bit. Clearly, Triumph like these fast-paced games. They like to keep the pressure on and the speed up. And I think Uprising Academy, they're going to benefit from slowing down that pace, trying to force Triumph to play their game here a little bit.
Yeah, and when we go to the next map as well, it's completely different. You know, Control is all about chaos, fast-paced gameplay, etc. Right. And when we go to Assault, it's not quite the case. We're going to go to Volskaya Industries next. And Volskaya Industries, always known for being open. The high ground does matter, and teams often use the high ground, but it's very possible to not have to bunker up on that high ground. We see Widowmakers being played sometimes. We see a lot of different things being played here, but a lot of teams do still like to go for that double barrier. They do still like to go for what we call the tried and true of the meta. And looking at both of these teams, I'm actually wouldn't be surprised if we see something else come out here on the attack mostly. The defense seems to be pretty set up. Teams like to go for the double barrier because you want to be ready for as much as possible. But especially on a map like Volskaya, dive has always been a thing. Just being aggressive, setting up a pace has always been a thing. And it's very likely that we're going to see that come out from Triumph for what we see so far. but at least way fast on the Widowmaker is throwing a bit of a curveball at what we normally see on defense on this map.
Well, speaking of curveballs, we are going to get the double bubble from Triumph, at least what they're showing us here. Yep. Wayfast might struggle to lock down some of these high mobility targets. I'm looking at Vigilante might be the prime target for Wayfast with that Widow scope. So Vigilante is going to have to stay nice and safe behind cover. And good scouting on that Widow's position will be key.
Yeah, hug the wall like it's your significant other. That's what I would say to Vigilante. Right now, it's going to be Tap taking the first damage out. And this double bubble, it's not quite dive. That's not exactly how it works. So it's not going to be as easy to get the value. You need to get that Zarya charge up, and you need to get that Winston in between the enemy to boop them apart. So you might want to have the Primal ready for that.
Hydron is just kind of wandering on the low ground, trying to locate the Widowmaker as Triumph circled around through the right side. Nick dives in and, well, dies immediately as the rest of the team was not there. And it's the second time we've seen this. Nick is getting just a little bit ahead of where the rest of the team is, when the rest of the team is ready to go.
What does that have to do with the way? Like, it's a different composition, right? It's not quite dive, so you can't just dive in. You have that extra bubble. You get the Zarya charge, but you saw it there. Nick went in. The bubble was burst so quickly that it could just be halted back up and stunned out. This might happen again. No, this time they do get away safely. This was what they wanted to do last time, and now they forced the tanks to drop.
They did, and this is exactly what Triumph is looking for. Now they can put pressure onto the low ground if they want, with Nick going up to the high ground. Along with Hydron, they're going to take down Huck up top. Now, Hydron circling around to the back, trying to devalue that immortality field as N2S is going to pull out the blade. Try to chop through the front line. Doesn't find anything just yet, just whittling through the big health pulls of those tanks, and it does allow for the team to clean up. Triumph will pick up this first point. Over 5 minutes left on the clock.
And it's really your ultimate goal, right? Get those tanks up the high ground, because then either the squishies will have to drop with them or they stay low on the high ground, and either way that makes them easier targets. Beautifully done from Nick and Off to get that going together. You see that Nick already got the Primal. Off has got this close to the Graviton. They'll probably have that little light pretty soon.
Yeah, Nano Boost right behind it. Bless you, my friend. On the other side, we'll have Supercharger and Gravitic Flux coming up before too long. Tap coming close to that blade, but here comes the Primal, and Tap goes down immediately. Not able to get that Dragon Blade built up any further. This could be disastrous for Uprising Academy. As the environmental kill, no, doesn't quite get the Sigma off the side. Does eventually find the elimination with a little help from their friends. And 2 ticks picked up already, looking to get the third. Oh my goodness, what a snowball. 4:24 left in the time bank.
And we have to talk a little bit about that double bubble comb, because we alluded to it a little bit before, but it's not quite what we're used to anymore these days. It's very originated, of course, in like the China, Korea, the Asian regions there, and it's just not that something that we've seen a lot just yet in North America or in Europe. You know, the West hasn't really adapted to it just yet. And Triumph showing it here has a lot to do with probably their Korean influence for their players, but also just staying ahead of the meta, you know, trying to develop more strategies, trying to develop new strategies. And the way that this double bubble really tries to work, what it wants to do is it wants to split up your team when you are playing that double barrier. It wants to get the Winston in there in between your front and your back line, and then try and you know, with that, get the Zarya charge up because she uses bubbles, and then you cannot even focus on their backline. That Ana should be really vulnerable, but she isn't, because you do so much in the front line with both DPS flanking and the Winston jumping in, and then the Zarya, you know, providing bubbles, doing a lot of damage. And it's all about that momentum. If you get that momentum up with the Zarya's high charge, where the Winston's able to jump in and jump out, the cycling of cooldowns and ultimate abilities and damage, that's when that competition really works, but it all relies on that communication. So very impressive from Triumph that they're able to do that, even with the ping that they're on.
Yes, sir. Puts a lot of pressure on the Winston as well. Nick rising to the challenge. Now double shield here back on the defense. But I like the positioning. Triumph holding up close. They're not going to fall back. They're not going to give up too much space. They're going to force the pressure right through the choke. Uprising Well, they're opting for a bit of a slower composition here as they try to push in. Way fast with a nice headshot. Takes N2S out early, and that's just the opening that Uprising is looking for. Now, they're going to try to opt to go right as Tap is flanking around, looking to get behind the defense. Way fast. He's going to challenge this high ground, puts pressure down on the Hydron, misses one shot, but nails the next two. Unfortunately, Hydron did manage to find 2 kills in the interim. And this is going to be a reset from Uprising Academy.
Way fast will just die late there. And 1 minute down, not much has happened. There were just a few picks that went down, not a full-on team fight. And all of that was really on off-angle Ashes and off-angle Genjis. They weren't quite fighting with their team. They were trying to find that angle where they can do the most amount of damage without being risky. And they were still too risky. So probably didn't find the right angle just yet.
Nope, and now Hydron has that 7th man nearly ready to go. We're also looking at Gravitic Flux for the defense coming up online shortly. This time, Uprising, they're going to go low left. Push into that small room. I don't know how advisable that is. Okay, they don't linger in there, which is good for them. They're going to emerge from the other side, drop the Amp Matrix down, try to create some space to go grab the high ground. From this position, they'll be able to get way fast in a spot where they can perhaps fend off Hydron and open up some options to approach this point. Immortality Field out early. That just makes her an easy Gravitic Flux from off. Doesn't have to worry about that equipment any longer. Oh, what a misplay from Aztec. I think was just getting a little trigger happy on that Frisbee.
Yeah, sometimes you think it's a great play, and sometimes it's just a mistimed ability, or you have to use an ability too early. Aztec will now be out of that ult charge, but everyone else is looking to have their ultimates online soon, aside from off with that Gravitic Flux. I don't know, like the approach is that's the change. Like you do see N2S having adapted to that flank play that they want to get off on Hydron. That's a pretty nice adaptation, but Hydron keeps switching their position as well.
And Triumph keeping this aggressive posture up front. Throw both Bobs in early. Both Bobs dealt with fairly easily from either side, respectively. Both blades online. Uprising, what are you waiting for?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, you're saying it right. Like, Triumph can just go ult for ult every single time because they have the information. They know that they can do that.
And we are going to get dueling Genji Blades, just as anticipated. All the equipment chopped through, but it's N2S finding the kills. A pair of them, in fact. Now trying to take on the Brig. It's like, nope, don't want that duel. Gonna go try and hunt down way fast. Oh! And takes the Wasashi to that brain way fast back to spawn. One last chance for Uprising Academy to make something happen here on Volskaya.
Yeah, and potentially there was a bit of overinvestment of ultimates. Like, they will have their Gravitic Flux and their Amplification Matrix back soon, but you will have Uprising Academy that has a distinct advantage in this. They will have also the rally and are closer to the Bob. So this could be the fight. If there's any fight you win Uprising Academy, it has to be this one, as long as you don't get picked off early.
But with the Blade already used, what's going to be the win condition? The rally's there. Immortality Field should block this Gravitic Flux. This is going to take a huge play from False. See if Uprising can close this thing out. Or a misplay from the other side. Or you just don't touch the objective.
You were in such a good position there. Like, Uprising, you just gave that away. Like, seriously. Honestly, like, there's still a question, like, would they have made it to second and would have done it? But you're not even giving yourself a chance there. You get that beautiful pick off on off. No Gravitic Flux is ready. And then there's like so many other things that are happening as well at the same time that are going in your favor. You get the ultimate advantage, you get the positional advantage, you get the pressure completely on a Triumph that has to back off. And then Uprising, all you have to do is just touch the objective. You were literally on it. Like, I don't even know. Like, it almost feels like it was a bug. That's how stupid it almost feels that didn't happen. Not from the teams, but like unbelievably that you're like, how did you not touch there?
So true. I mean, N2S was way out of position, got hyper aggressive, was very low. I mean, looking for an easy pick, just as the overtime wick would have begun, would have started to burn. And just as time was dwindling down, they would have been a clean 2-man advantage. Oh man, but you get objective. I mean, we see this happen all the way up the board. I mean, even the most skilled professional Overwatch players make this mistake, but frankly, it's inexcusable.
It really is.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, We are gonna take a quick break. We are gonna return with Hollywood to see if Uprising Academy can get their act together. We'll see you there. Don't go anywhere.
Academy, they lay down the shatter, let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%.
Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly.
Oh,
and asking.
Double kill in the back with the pulse bug from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha de abajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting till it's for sure lost.
Winnable!
you don't want to be the team that stayed in trials just because of your name. You want to prove that you have the skills, that you belong here every step of the way. And I mean, I believe you can come back and at least put up a good showing for us. Don't know. Yeah, I mean, the reverse sweep is a tall ask, but I have faith that they could, put up a good showing here in Hollywood, maybe even take a map off of Triumph.
Yeah, it never feels good to work somewhere because your father owes the company. I think that's the analogy we can go with in this case. And I mean, to be fair, like Uprising Academy, they have a really good roster. These players are there for a reason. They definitely deserve to be there. But for some reason or another, and even with their past rosters, it just doesn't really seem to click. So hopefully in this next map, we can see more of those sparks of brilliance, maybe even a map win coming out from Boston that makes us see why this team is together, why they're doing so well. Way Fast was part of that Raspberry Racers, now Obey Alliance team in EMEA that did so well, came out of nowhere, just completely rising up the ranks. They're still, one of the best contenders teams in EU right now. And, Kandop has been a very staple name in the Dutch community, even in the international European community. Tap, I remember Sheer Cold. They actually named their name Tap Please Come Back when they left for Boston Uprising during the just before the Breakable Barriers tournament. Like, there's a lot of history with these players that shows how good they are. It's just the synergy, the combination, the magic formula that they need to find to just bring that out on a win. Because right now, Triumph are looking like the same caliber of players with the synergy attached.
Absolutely. And I would love to see Uprising get together. I would love to bear witness to when everything just locks into place for this team. Nothing would make me happier to see this thing go to distance, at least see, a tight, close fight, see some good organization, some good coordination coming from Uprising Academy. But so far, still a bit lacking. And I think Triumph are overextending in certain occasions. There are windows of mistakes that could be punished.
Definitely.
And Uprising just needs to find those small little openings. And if they could focus their attention on that, it could be the thing to bring this team together.
It really could. And of course, we're going into Hollywood. And Hollywood, I mean, we talk about high ground sometimes. And on Hollywood, it really feels like the high ground isn't just high ground, but especially in the street space, it is just a second level of the map. It's similar to like Watchpoint Gibraltar, right? Where you don't really fight from the high ground, but the high ground is like an entire new layer of the map on its own. There's not that you spam down and then you drop down mechanic. It's more like two fights are separately taking place a lot of the time. And that doesn't happen on a map like Volskaya, where it's more of a medium high ground, but it does happen on a map like Hollywood, where it's a high ground. And that even starts on first. I mean, when you look at the high ground on first point as well, you have Juice, where the defenders first start holding. But you can't really easily drop down on a team from Juice when you're playing this double barrier comp, because you don't have that power, and they see you coming because they have a long time that they're waiting for you to fall. And then you have the high ground off Cafe, which is a lot lower. And if you drop there, you have more of a chance to fight there. So it's always good to see how these teams choose to rotate around this map. And often you see that ballet going on with one team starting on the high ground, and they switch positions, and they switch positions again. And let's see what Triumph and Boston Uprising Academy are going to be able to do with that.
And the coordination is so important on those rotations. It's so easy to get caught out during that dance.
Yeah.
As we have Uprising. Well, they're just going to fall back. They were holding the high ground there for a moment, but man, they gave that up really fast. And now they're just going to fall back down to the objective. You can see Into West putting some pressure on to that high ground, just kind of keeping it in check while the rest of Triumph circles all the way around through the alley. They're going to come up from Dumpster. Oh, but the Brig overextended there so slightly. There's those positional mistakes. Uprising this time able to take advantage, find an early player lead here in this fight.
Yeah, there's two ways you can deal with doing a C9. It's going hard or going home. This time around, Kandop is the one that's getting pulled back and taken off the map. Will be a riskless fight, but if N2S goes down, it keeps being numbers even, and Tap is starting to dash the resets out of there.
Absolutely. Once again, LAP goes down early. Look, falling twice in this fight very early on. We'll see The rest of Triumph still sticking around. They lost 2 players, and now they're just stuck in the alley. Brig struggling to rejoin the rest of the team. Okay, here comes the rotation back around. Yeah, Triumph finally pick up on it. They're just going to come back around through main. Bob comes out from the defense, but Triumph does not seem phased by the big Omnic Butler one bit. We'll see if the Flux will do it, because there's going to be a blade accompanying so much damage done. Tap able to clean up with the katana.
Tap so far really the hope of Uprising Academy, it seems. Just caught those 2 dash resets that just made it take Triumph a little bit longer, and now the follow-up after the Flux. They actually almost didn't even need the blade. The Immortality Field was this close to being taken down before they landed, but then the blade just cleans it up. It does mean there's blade advantage here for Triumph now, but no Flux to really empower that and to take out the Immortality Fields.
No, but they will have that rally coming online, Supercharger as well, and they just need 1 tick here on the first point. Hydron with the opening kill, and the blade finds 1 as well. Make that 2 with a beautiful flip off the wall, getting the kill on a Tap. Stylish moves coming from N2S.
I was gonna say, now you're just almost, I would say, playing with your fool, but you're definitely going for style points over there if you're N2S. Very nicely done. Of course, they were able to take down Aztec before the Immortality Field could even start playing a role. And then the Blade is a super easy choice to make, because you will just clean up that fight. High ground immediately dominated by Triumph as well. Go far forward, making sure that they can spam down a little bit without being in any sort of danger while the cart's moving closer. And while Boston Uprising Academy are still respawning.
Now, Triumph trying to control the high ground. They're going to throw an Ant Matrix, but it looked like it got a little bit either dislodged or misplaced. Still have a small opportunity, small window, if you would, to utilize the double damage, but no kills coming from it. Grand Jump, a very aggressive flank, throws the Supercharger down, back behind Triumph. It's immediately taken care of. Kratos forced out, and Wayfast goes down as Lep gets aggressive once again. Uprising just looking disorganized here. They're trying to come and win from behind, but there were still a couple members caught out front. Triumph take full advantage.
Uprising wanted to make sure that the objective doesn't move. They wanted to fight on the point, force them off the high ground on the side of Triumph. And they just weren't able to do that, because by the time that Triumph dropped down, they had already done the damage. They had already outpositioned Uprising Academy. And now they're going into third. Yes, N2S is in a little bit of trouble. It has the deflect ready, and the forward spawns aren't enough to capitalize on.
Oh, Wayfast with a key pick. Takes out Vigilante before they can get the Frisbee alive on the ground. That allows Falsus Gravitic Flux to do worlds of hurt to Triumph as they try to enter point C.
Yeah, so far, it's been looking better for Uprising. They're not actively losing that many fights. They're able to stall out Triumph's progress a lot. And 3.5 minutes into third can just drain away.
Here comes the Blade, continuing to look for those punishable opportunities. But N2S goes down. Tap doesn't really find much. It's Wayfast actually finding the kills with the double damage. The Viper landing shots true. 3 minutes left on the clock.
I'm really liking this.
Yeah.
I'm liking this look from Uprising so far. I mean, yes, the cart's already pretty far into the map, so they haven't had a perfect defense, but they're definitely showing to be more on par with Triumph than before. And Triumph is losing a few members too early, making a few mistakes like you were alluding to before.
But now Triumph has the rally, has the bomb. A couple of tools that could give them the edge in this fight. Extra armor, extra man on the field. Here we go, N2S. Finds False. Huge fake. Nice hold right into the dash. Forces out Immortality Field. But still, both supports from Uprising are just oh so low. Running out of health. Huck can't even get the rally off. Just trying to backpedal out of there. Now a little bit of a ninja duel, and Tap will win the Cyber Ninja War.
There's plenty online for Uprising Academy as well. They don't need to be scared to hold this one. They can throw out 1 or 2 ultimates and still have plenty in the bank. They should be able to stop this for at least one more fight, as long as they touch no C9 this time.
No, but it was dangerously close. I think Uprising Academy thought the point was a little bit further back than it was. Initially trying to take high ground. Tap does take Nick out and force a reset from Triumph.
The fact that they use both those support ultimates there, that is potentially going to come back and haunt them later. Yeah, you'll have the tanks and the DPS ultimates. They can just finish a fight before it starts. But as soon as Triumph has everything online, you're going to be down and out really quickly.
Yeah, with about 90 seconds on the clock, a little over, certainly time for Triumph to build up a nice bank of ultimates. This is going to take some excellent ult economy and ult rotation. We're going to get Blade, Supercharger, Flux all out simultaneously. Tap, trying to tap the enemy into oblivion. Hydron and into West answer right back, though, but with the spawn so close, will it be enough? Bob gets forced off the point, not able to contest. Waveass has to try to jump down to contest the point, and the kills continue to rack up here for Triumph. Now the support's trying to hurl themselves on the point. Aztec doesn't last long. Ball coming out for stall. And Tap just gets exploded by the TNT, the blade, the sword in the coffin here for Uprising Academy.
But it does show the Uprising Academy has something going on for them, because 52 seconds is not a whole lot of time on Hollywood 3rd. They are showing up. They're starting to warm into it. And only thing we can hope for is that it's not too late. The only thing we can hope for is that Uprising Academy has a phenomenal attack of their own and just outpaces the side of Triumph. Able to just establish some form of power, establish some form of confidence. And as long as they can do that, then Triumph might be starting to sweat a little bit more about this series than they were previously.
Well, and one thing I talk about, I like to talk about is the most important skill you can have in Overwatch. It's not your aim. It's not the mechanics. It's heart. Grit, the ability to stay focused and stay positive and stay determined to continue to find a way to win. And that's exactly what I want to see from Uprising Academy right now.
Yeah, Uprising Academy, this is your moment. This is when you can show that you can bounce back from negativity. You can bounce back from a setback, really, and bounce back from your own mistakes as well. Because it's possible that it's still reeling in their heads. You know, you still hear the C9 in your heads. You still hear that objective takedown without you being on it. And if you can put that aside, if you can start this game anew and just pretend like it's just the first map, maybe that's a solution. Maybe they found another one. For now, all they're going to do is try and play the same composition into a mirror on Hollywood Attack.
Looks like they're opting for a bit of a split offense here. Sigma and Brig going through the stairwell while the front line's going to push through main. They just reconvene up front. No real benefit gained. Defense sitting up on the high ground, throwing down a lot of poke damage. Hydron already a third of the way to the Bob. Oh, and now Triumph just going to get aggressive, very aggressive indeed. Forces out the Immortality field early. Dash resets coming through, as are the kills for Triumph, chasing Uprising all the way back into the spawn doors.
Triumph was able to do so much poke damage that just wasn't getting healed up in time. Like, Aztec is truly looking like they're a bit in trouble, a little bit behind the ball every single time. The healing just isn't coming out properly, and Triumph sees it. They see lower health bars. Think if we go in now, we have full health bars, you have 70%, we just win.
I mean, Aztec has 90% towards that amplification matrix. I mean, clearly putting out some heals. I mean, I don't know how much support you play Classic. There's always that moment where you look around and you're like, I can't possibly heal everyone at the same time. I worry that's the position Aztec has been forced into by Triumph's just relentless aggression. Speaking of, they're going to go ahead and throw the matrix down, secure that stairwell, make sure that Uprising Academy cannot work that flank. Way fast. Does find two nice kills. Digging the domes of the DPS from Triumph. Tap's going to go in with the blade, hoping they can secure this first point.
Looks like they will be able to, and nicely done. It's looked a bit hairy in the beginning, but now they have been able to get on there. And Aztec now goes over to the Lucio. They might actually switch back on there in spawn, where they had them down early, so there's probably to recontest. Was a good attack, and like you said before, right? It's not necessarily Aztec's fault that, you know, the team is just getting too low. Sometimes you just cannot keep up, and that probably comes down to the rotations that Boston is making. They aren't as clean as you would like them to be. They were in that last fight. They were actually staying together pretty well, spreading out in the way that they needed to because they had the advantage. But before that, when it's a 6v6, there seems to be a lot of damage that gets in, that gets between those barriers that kind of shouldn't.
Well, and Triumph doing a good job of burning down those shields. You can just see the entire team seems to focus the shield the moment they come down. Bob coming out from Uprising Academy, actually from both teams as a matter of fact, and N2S is going to pull the katana out of its sheath, go in looking for the big kills, but overextends completely and utterly. Goes down without finding much value. Triumph did pick up the kill onto the Brig, but an opportunity for a power play here.
It's a nice attempt to kite away there for the Blade, and they did a good job of that. And now, indeed, they will have the respawn advantage. So the power play is coming out. Nice Gravitic Flux attempt from off there. Doesn't find anything, but tap falls as a result of the follow-up.
Yeah, Supercharger from Uprising wasn't enough to net them any kills. And now Triumph are going to fall back, see if we can take over the high ground. They do relinquish control of the point itself. Into us making the swap to Doomfist to get back here and stay aggressive on the fight. But Aztec, with some beautiful shots, takes him down early. Now Tap diving into the back, dashing through. Blade at the fingertips, ready to go. Looks like Triumph are just going to kite back, though, with those early losses. Hydron with a nice revenge kill, takes Huck down. And here comes the Flux into the Blade. Immortality Field out. They deal with that. Tap free to slice and dice through the defense.
I love that combination as well. You see teams do it more and more when you throw the Flux out and the Blade actually starts attacking the enemy team in the air. Because the Immortality Field's on the ground, and you're not immortal if you're not in it. So if you're still in the air flying because of the Flux and the Blade hits you, you won't be able to get saved by the Immortality barrier. Very nice to see more teams working with that and be more creative with their order of operation.
Given the aggression Triumph has shown us, the recontest here does not surprise me in the slightest. Early Immortality Field, well, not really a factor, and enabling Triumph to get the early picks. Oh, a beautiful play from N2S to close out that fight.
Nice, very nicely done. I'm liking this Doomfist. We've seen more teams do it, especially you have this high ground to work with, to just fall down on an enemy team and then start punching, start using those seismic abilities, the uppercut, everything. It's a nice place to be if you're N2S, and you can deny a lot of what Uprising Academy wants to do. When they want to play together, the Doomfist is so nice to see them away. It's like a wrecking ball, but a smaller form factor, and with a little bit more oomph.
Yeah, some more pick potential indeed with that big right hook. And you can also kind of caught way out of position there. The Hulk pulling him off the high ground. N2S does go in and get the punch onto Tap. And as I was starting to say, you're going to keep them from building up those important ultimates. Those ultimates that are the win condition here for Uprising Academy. Now, False's Sigma landing the Hyperspheres, just doing the double dinks over and over. He's going to find a 3K before it's all said and done. But there's an opportunity for another recontest here.
I like this split from the Uprising Academy, though. They don't all try and follow one target. They actually split up and trust each other to win the 1v1s or the 2v1s or whatever. And now they're able to be in a position where their respawns are back in time. The Gravitic Flux comes out from off and gets nothing because they get taken out. And this point might actually flip to Uprising Academy.
Yeah, Uprising in control here. I'm not even sure the Flux from False was necessary, though they do hang on to the 5 ultimates pushing into point C.
And they can get some forward staggers here as well. That's very nice. You can build some momentum up. They do have to make some pace. Of course, they can complete the map in overtime, and they will get another shot. The map wasn't completed with over a minute for the side of Triumph. But 2 minutes is not a whole lot of time for a third. You have just a monumental load here of ultimates. Just there. Like, wealth. I don't know, like, aside from the Gravitic Flux, which you may not have needed, you have everything else in the bank, but Triumph is ready.
Triumph is absolutely ready. The rally there to armor up, protect against the incoming Blade. Tap getting no value out of that one, and the Baptiste going down early. No Ant Matrix available, no Immortality Field, which means there's nothing to block. The massive Flux thrown in by off. Up in the air they went, down they go, all the way down back to spawn.
There was such a nice thing as well that N2S is able to punch someone into that Flux. They only had 2 targets, and he just uses the right click to say, no, there's more targets, here you go. Here you go off. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna give you some more kill credit there. Very nice job from Triumph. And you see how far they have to back up on Uprising Academy's side. Like, the aggression, you've been saying it a few times. It's so true. Triumph just doesn't want to give up a centimeter or an inch, you know, it's as you Americans say.
Yeah, making them fight for each one. A couple ultimates online available for Uprising to make this push, but they're running out of time. We're looking at, they pretty much need to be perfect from here on in if they even want to complete, and they don't get any kills from the double damage window. Wayfast does still have a Bob, but there's also one available here for the defense. And this aggression is just going to continue. Triumph getting right up into the face of Uprising. Bob into the back line to deny the retreat, cut off those kite angles. And early picks coming through into S. As you were talking about, I love this Doomfist pick here. It's getting so much value.
Easier to play on higher ping as well. I think that's that helps if you don't have N2S is one of those players. But we will see Uprising Academy one more attempt. The Sigma ult is out, doesn't get value because of the Immortality field, but at least forces that out. And the blade from Tap's gonna be ready soon.
But they've got to stay alive long enough. Overtime at Wick burning. Wayfall's trying to snipe from outside. Tap is still in this fight, but his teammates are falling all around him. Still does not have that blade online ready to go. Down to nil health. Pulls out the blade with 1 health. Desperation not enough. And Triumph complete the clean 3-0 sweep. Moving to 3-1 here in our Trials week.
Exactly. We heard our producers say it GG's, and nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be more true. Terribly sorry, because it was still a good game. We saw a lot of potential coming out from Uprising Academy, and honestly, I mean, they have a lot of promise. We still say it. I think that the switch they made with coaching staff is already starting to pay off, but it might just not be ready just yet. And I can only wait for the next trial season. Next Trials week, because it will only be a few weeks away. Won't be that long before we get to see more of this. And right now, they can still prepare for the match tomorrow, might get another win on the board, and after that, they can wait and wait until the next Trials week comes around, and Uprising can show what they've been working on. But it's Triumph that keeps their hopes alive in Contenders.
Oh yeah, I think we're witnessing Triumph level up here a bit. You kind of saw it in the match last night against Kratos. If you haven't watched that one, go back and watch that VOD. Very exciting match. And you saw the number 3 team going up against the number 2 team, and Triumph just seemed to evolve as the match went on. And now we're seeing that evolve form here today. What a performance by them. I love the aggression they're putting out. You know, even almost to a fault where people were getting a little too aggressive at times, and you know, tougher team might be able to punish that, but I think Triumph are really on the uptick.
Okay, well, that was of course that series. But, yeah, do we have another one? I don't know. I think we don't.
Cool.
Cool.
We do have some other games going on right now. Here,
Of
let me
course,
pull up
the other stream. Yes.
Yes, we do have more games brought to you by Elo Hell. As currently, I do believe, Comically Large Crosshair and Vite Ramen Revival are playing on the other channel. Door and Moxie covering that one. Go check it out later on tonight. They will also see Malibu taking on Region. So plenty of more action coming at you from NA Contenders Trials. But that's going to do it for Classy and myself here today. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Y'all remember to look out for each other in game and out. We'll see you next time.